A very good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me clearly. I stand here today with immense gratitude and a profound sense of purpose. And it is indeed a matter of great privilege for me to be present here and addressing a diverse audience that I'm sure represents the finest tapestry of a tech industry. Today in my talk, I would be talking about some success mantras, and I would be helping you to delve deep into a transformative journey of self-discovery and self-empowerment as I cover these success mantras. You know, these mantras that I'm going to cover today are not just the buzzwords. They are the cornerstone of success and fulfillment in any organization and any individual. And they transcend boundaries, they transcend cultures, and they transcend organization to impact every facet of our existence. While I've covered these success mantras, I would also be sharing my story, which actually forms the cornerstone of today's discussion. And before I do that, there is a disclaimer that though I would be sharing my story, it's not about my story. It's not even about me. It's actually about some of the lessons that I've learned, which I call the success mantras the hard way. And I truly feel that if I'm able to share and inspire even one individual sitting here, it becomes my obligation to do so. So I start because I come from a generation, and for many of you, it's very hard to believe. I come from a generation where computers were not a reality. And on top of that, I come from a very religious and a conservative background. For me, coming from there and becoming an Air Force officer has been quite an eventful journey. You know, I was born to very humble parents who were farmers, and for them, getting us the best of the amenities those days, the best of the food, the best of education, clothes, etc., was a huge struggle. But my parents did the best they could do to provide us the best that they did. So as growing up, I've seen a lot of struggles and challenges in my life. I was actually born in a farm or a village. And for my parents to give us education, they moved from that village to a city so that they could provide us the basic education. I finished my graduation and I was doing my post-graduation in computer applications. Now, computer applications 40 years back was very, very hot, right? And we were the first batches and we were told that we have a great future, and rightly so. Computer applications today, you all tech guys sitting here and girls sitting here, right? You know how bright the future is. So I had finished 2.5 years of my post-graduation degree, 6 months to go. Placements had started. All my exams were over. One day, at the hostel while waiting for a friend of mine, I read the newspaper, and there I see an ad. Now, this is an ad from the Indian Air Force asking women to join as helicopter pilots. For me, that was a defining moment. This was something I always wanted to do in my life. I wanted to do something different. But doing something different in those days for girls was not just unseen, it was unheard of. And it remained unheard of for many years till I got this opportunity. And when I saw this ad, I just jumped at it without any second thoughts. Interestingly, hundreds of miles away, my sister, she was also doing her graduation. She also saw the same ad the same day. And both of us, without any communication with each other, because the only way to communicate those days used to be letters. There were no phones even, right? She applied and I applied. And both of us went for our selection procedure. We went through a rigorous medicals. Both of us got selected. And we happened to land up as the first pair of sisters in the world to have flown together as captain and co-pilot. Now the question is, I took a huge risk by taking that decision, because from something very safe and known, I went into a territory which was absolutely unknown and unheard of. Now the question which people ask me is that, did you take a risk? And I know the answer is yes. The bigger question is, was that risk worth it? And the question is a bigger yes in caps and bolds. You know, when you're so sure of what you want in life, your why is very clear, the what and how just follows. And that is what happened in my life. And that was the first mantra, success mantra, that I learned that point in time. And that is taking action. You know, the only constant thing in this world is change. And change has that amazing unyielding force, whether you resist change or whether you embrace it. Change has such unyielding force that it will impact every aspect of your life, whether you like it or you don't. So the question is not how we will, whether we will encompass change or whether we will encounter change. The question is how we will embrace it. And the only way to embrace change, ladies and gentlemen, is to take action, right? The only way to embrace change is to embrace the uncertainties that come along with it. The only way to embrace change is to step out of your comfort zone. You know, all good things, all progress in this world lies outside your comfort zone. But there's something that stops people from not doing it. Any idea what is that? One thing that stops people to come out of their comfort zone, even if they want to. Fear? Yes, fear. Yes, it's fear. It's the what if syndrome. What if I fail? What if I am ridiculed? What if I am not successful? What if people don't accept me? Etc., etc., and that just continues. You know, taking action in spite of the risk involved is an unstoppable element for sure short success. The difference between people who are not successful and people who are very successful, or the average and the exceptional leaders, is because of action. You know, you got to stay in the system, you got to navigate through the politics, you got to reach your goals, but most importantly, you have to take immediate and massive action, right? And that is the first success mantra in life. You know, the biggest risk in life is not taking any risk at all, right? But how many of us live in fear? We have all kinds of fears in life. Raise of hands, we all have fears, right? Yes, we have all kinds of fears. But believe you me, if I tell you here, and there's a lot of study that has gone on fear, that 80% of the fears in your life will never ever happen. It's just an imagination of your mind. It's coming from your past or coming from your future. It's never in the present moment. 80% will never ever happen in your life. 15% of fear are actually real, and you have to deal with them head on. For instance, when I wanted to join Air Force, I had two issues. I had road sickness, severe road sickness, and I had fear of heights. Now I knew if I went for flying, this would come in my way, right? So how did I overcome it? We never used to have skyscrapers those days. I used to just climb up the highest building I could see in the vicinity and keep looking down for minutes together, right? So you have to face the real fears head on. 3 and 5% of the fears are the ones which will happen and you cannot do anything about it. Fear of death is one of them, right? So I fear something that's going to happen to everybody. So learn to deal with your fears and start taking action. That is the mantra number 1. Now came time for a training. So for a training, we came to Hyderabad. You must have heard of the place Dundigal. That is where we commenced 6 months of a training. And after that, we came to Sikandrabad, Hakimpet, where we did another 1 year of training. So now it was time for us to come for training, and both the sisters, we packed our trunks, bid goodbye to our parents, boarded the train from Delhi. And those days we never had air conditioners, so it was a sleeper class. And we landed at Sikandrabad railway station. It was a long journey. The trains used to be slow. It took almost 24 hours. And there was an officer who had come to receive us at the station. So when he saw our plight, he said, "Why don't you have a cup of tea?" And he offered us a cup of tea, and we badly wanted it at that point in time. So when we were sipping that tea, he said, "This is the last cup of peaceful tea you will have in the coming few months." And we thought he was joking. But the moment we landed at the academy, I understood what he meant. Life at the academy was very tough. We had to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, start with a 5-kilometer run, followed by a parade and PT and a ground classes and the ragda, so-called, given by our seniors. And the day would just carry on non-stop till 10 o'clock. And then again, we had to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Now, we come from a civil background. We had nobody to guide us or to tell us what to expect and how to prepare. So we just came with an open mind. And we were so used to eating those ghee-soaked parathas and getting mollycoddled by our mom that, forget running, I had never even jogged in my life. And from there, coming to this stage was quite a challenge. But the academy made us go through a lot of physical and mental hardship. And they did that to teach another success mantra in our lives. Any idea what that is? Very, very important aspect. Any guesses? There are no wrong answers. Yeah, that was discipline, right? You know, all successful people in the world, they view discipline as a commitment, as dedication and excellence, rather than an inconvenient burden to be endured. And this lesson was taught us the hard way during our academy days. Also, what is important here to remember is that, you know, without discipline, nobody can be successful, right? So we learned discipline. And basically, what is discipline? It is just consistency of an effort and over time, right? You have to make consistent efforts over consistent time. That is all. So this was something that was taught us during our academy days. And this success mantra stayed with me, and is still today my mantra till date. Now, there was a ritual in the academy, right? Whenever we made a mistake, we were punished. And whenever anyone else in the team made a mistake, we were all punished. And this was something which I never understood. You know, it's okay to be punished for your mistake, but why should I be punished if somebody else in my team has made a mistake? And this was something that I could not digest. This was something I could not understand. And before our flying was to start, our chief flying instructor called us and he asked us if there's anything bothering us, so that when we go and start flying in the cockpit, we are absolutely free of any anxiety or stress. So I thought that was probably my time to raise this point, and I told him, "Sir, we get punished. Even if I've not made a mistake, I get punished every single day." I said that, he listened to me, and then nothing happened for next 2 days. But the third day, when we were getting punished by our seniors, we see this flying instructor coming in his gypsy. And I knew something's going to happen now, because it was very unusual for senior officers to visit our academy without any pre-announced reason that was given to us. So at that point in time, we were being given ragda by our seniors. So the CFI came, he told our seniors to line up differently, and he called the seniors to the other side and he started giving them punishment. Now I had understood why this is happening. I said, probably it's an offshoot of what I had shared. But what I did not understand was, why were we being made to stand there and watch our seniors get punishment? This was like waiting for a tsunami to come, right? A huge tornado is going to hit us now. So the CFI, he gave ragda to our seniors for about 5-10 minutes. And then he said, this is for not instilling team spirit in our juniors. He said that and he left. And then you imagine what happened to us. The seniors took over, the punishment got multiplied manifold, the intensity of it got multiplied, and the duration got multiplied, right? So that was the next success mantra that was taught to us. Teamwork and collaboration. You know, it's either the entire team wins or the entire team loses. And it's always all for one. And this mantra has served me not just while I was in uniform. It has served me even in my corporate life. You know, motivated and engaged teams are actually the driving force behind any successful organization. They are the lifeblood of collaboration, of creativity, and of abundance and success. And teams will not be successful, believe you me, ladies and gentlemen, teams will never be successful unless every individual in that team is loyal and they subjugate their personal agenda to that of the team. That the team has to win has to be the most important point. You know, Helen Keller had said that alone we can do little and together we can do a lot, isn't it? Greatness can never be achieved in isolation. Greatness can always be achieved in collaboration. It is an effort of people who are united by a common goal and common purpose. Now imagine a world where everybody works in isolation, when everybody is trying to undo the other person. Will we all make progress in such an environment? No? Right? Because it's only when we are collaborative can we harness the collective strength, the ideas and the perspectives. It's only when we are collaborative we can have the synergy, wherein the sum of the whole is always bigger than the sum of its individual parts. That is the power of collaboration. But most of the times, instead of being collaborative, we get into comparisons, right? Why is that person getting promotions earlier? Why is that person is getting salary more than me? Doesn't it happen? A yes or no? We are comparing ourselves with others all the time, especially in today's world where we are ruled by social media. You know, there was a study carried out for the teenagers in America. And believe you me, 60% of them are into depression. And the reason of this depression is not social media. The reason of this depression is the comparison that comes from social media. And comparison is the thief of all our joys and our peace and happiness. The only person you need to compare yourself with is who? Who? Louder. Yes, the only person you need to compare yourself is you. See yourself 1 year back, see yourself 5 years back, see yourself now and compare yourself. How much have you developed? How much have you grown as a person, as a professional? That's what true comparison is, right? Stop comparing yourself with others because you really don't know what other people are going through in their lives. What looks on the surface is something very different. We don't know what's going on behind that, right? And we all have our unique journeys, we all have our unique struggles, we all have a unique set of challenges that we face. So you cannot compare yourself with anybody else. The only person who's valid here is you. Remember that. And that is the third success mantra that I have learned. Now, when the flying started, we used to fly an aircraft which is now outdated. It's kept not even in the museum. You don't even see that. It was HPT-32. And even when we had started flying, that aircraft was on the verge of getting phased out. The aircraft had a lot of technical issues. There were a lot of failures that used to happen. There were a lot of accidents as a result of that, which used to happen. Now, every time an accident used to happen, which was not because of technical issues, human error or weather or whatever it was ensured that we all fly the same aircraft the very next day. Now, this was done to ensure that we are not engulfed by fear. Because the moment a gap is given, people would get into fear. To ensure that does not happen, we were all made to fly compulsorily the very next day. And this was the next success mantra that was being taught to us. And that is a very, very important aspect of success. American Association of Psychology did a study. And they said that people who are successful in their lives, 20% contribution happens by just this one mere factor, which is resilience. What really is resilience? You know, resilience is the ability to get thrown off and have the passion and the perseverance and the patience to get up and come back at it again, right? And this is one of the most important skills, a must-have skills that needs to be there in order to be successful in our lives. The fact is that we all face challenges, we all face difficulties in our lives, right? But resilience is what decides whether we face those challenges head on and learn something, become stronger, or we give up in front of those challenges, right? And this is what was taught us during Academy days, and this is my next mantra, the fourth mantra of success, resilience. You know, as leaders, it's very important to be resilient, and it's very important to believe in your vision, especially when you face hard days and hard times, right? So believe in your vision whenever you face the hard days, because when the hard days will come, they will throw you off track. But if you are a leader who has a vision which is stronger than the challenges, you will have your feet firmly grounded and your head high, and you will not allow those challenges take the most of you or empower you. And that is what resilience exactly is, right? Now, during our academy, we had, like I said, we used to run every day, and we had a drill master, J.W. Yadav. Now, this guy was very tough. He was ruthless. And another reason why we wanted to pass out from the academy was because we wanted to get rid of him. Yeah. He would not take on any excuses. He would not listen to us. And he would literally hide behind the bushes and watch us run. And in case he found that we were started jogging in between, the next day the run would turn from 5 kilometers to 7 kilometers. And we were just so fed up of him, and we would curse him and we would hate him from the core of our hearts. But then one day we passed out, and when the passing out happened, there is a ritual that after you get your wings, you just walk down the aisle, and there are people who are standing there waiting to salute you. So as we walk down the aisle, and this is first person standing there waiting to salute us with a lot of pride, guess who that was? Yes, J.W. Yadav. And he saluted us with such a pride. And you know, that was a moment, a profound moment, a pivotal point for me that made me change my definition of leadership. Initially, I thought leadership was all about position and power and blah, blah, blah. And that is what made me realize what being a true leader is. You know, it's not about position, it's not about power, it's not about authority. Leadership, true leadership is about authenticity. True leadership is like planting a tree, knowing that you will not get to eat the fruits of that tree, and you are watering that tree and nurturing that tree and planting that tree and, you know, making that tree grow. every day. That's what a true leader is. It's about you going up the summit, but ensuring that others also rise with you. That is what true leadership is. And this is the next success mantra that I learned, what it really means to be a true leader, right? So when you are out of that collaborative, when you're into that collaborative space, which which Academy taught us about being collaborative, of being, supporting of each other, of helping each other, of trusting each other. That is what true leaders do. And each one of us are leaders in our own capacity, irrespective of what we do, irrespective of the position that we have or the salary that we draw, or wherever we are in that hierarchy of the organization, right? And this is what I learned there. Now, before we were supposed to get, our training had got over 1.5 years, and before we were to get posted out, a flight commander asked us to write the name of the place we do not want to get posted to. So I always, like I said, I come from a farmer background. I'm a farmer's daughter. I've born and brought up in village. Greenery, I've always loved greenery, and I've disliked deserts. Because to me, they symbolize lifelessness, scarcity, hardships of lives. So I never wanted to get posted to deserts. And on a piece of paper, I wrote the name Jaisalmer. And I was very happy, and I was very, relieved that wherever I may get posted to, at least I'll not go to the desert. But when my posting came, it actually came to where I never wanted to go, to Jaisalmer. Now, this is a place which is very close to Pakistan border. The role of the unit was to do surveillance, and those days we never had GPS even in our aircraft, right? And today only I was just talking to someone, and they said that these days we cannot imagine, even driving without Google Maps. But those, I'm talking about 25, 30 years back, we used to fly our aircraft without GPS. We would do map reading. Any sortie which was for 1 hour would make us do a preparation for at least 2 to 3 hours on ground. That was the kind of hard work that used to go. And this unit was in the desert, so temperatures go really high. In summers, the temperatures are about 40 degrees, at times even 50 degrees. And we never had air conditioners again in our aircraft. And the aircraft is made up of glass, so the inside the temperature would be 10 degrees higher. So if the outside is like 40, the inside would be 50 degrees. And we would fly low and slow, because flying next to the Pakistan border, so that we are not caught by the enemy radar, right? And we would do surveillance of the border areas, the fencing, so that to ensure there's no infiltration, there is nothing which is broken, because the BSF is which is placed there, and they guard those borders. So we would do these recce's for 2 to 2.5 hours at a stretch, for flying low and slow in those temperatures, which was tough. And I was the first lady pilot to have got posted to that unit. And so I went there, there were 20 males, the 20 bachelors who were there, and I saw them looking at me with a very skeptical vision, right? And I could actually read their minds. It was as if, will she able to do this tough job that we do here, right? Will she able to survive here? And I tried my best to fit in, to become one of the boys. Unconscious bias has always existed in a society. But for me, the challenge there was to break the glass ceiling and to prove that if not, I could be as good as them as a pilot, like I was. So I did my best. I used to take on extra duties. I used to be ready to take on night duties. I would work really hard. I tried my level best to perceive and be professionally good, but somehow I could never fit in or become one of them. Until I realized the next success mantra, which I was missing out on, and that is having a very strong self-image. You must realize that your evaluation of who you are is much more important than how others evaluate you. And this is what changed everything for me. It changed the way I looked at myself. It changed the way I felt about myself. It changed the way how I showed up. It changed the way how I connected with others. And this, alongside with my professional hard work and competence and perseverance, it made me one of those boys in the team very soon, right? Because I was already taught the lesson of collaboration and teamwork, and I was taught that if I'm not one of them, I can never succeed individually. And it was very, very important for me to become one of them. And this is what made me one of them and get accepted in that team with open arms. And believe you me, till date, these people are still my best friends. We are still connected, very closely, right? So, the fact is that we all get those moments where we didn't make it, where we fail. So instead of asking, and instead of telling yourself, I'm a failure, if you say, it's okay, I failed, but what is it that I have learned in this that I can grow and become better and I can move up? That's the mindset, that's the growth mindset we all need to have, right? So this was the next success mantra of having a very, very strong self-image so that you're not dependent on others' validation. You're not dependent on others' appreciation to be the best version of yourself. Now, next posting came to the Siachen Glacier. Now, how many of you have been to Leh, Ladakh? Now it's become a tourist spot. But 20 years back, 25 years back, I'm talking about, there were no tourists there, right? So this is a place where the best of the best pilots get posted to, and I'm very fortunate to have flown in the Siachen Glacier. In fact, I'm the first woman pilot to have landed at the highest ALG in the world because of being posted here. And thank you. Siachen is a place, for those who do not know, where temperatures go as low as minus 50 degrees. There is lack of oxygen. There are updrafts and downdrafts, marginal weather, flying close to the hills, landing at matchbox-size helipads overlooking the enemy, and the scope of error is absolutely zero. Even a small mistake can lead to fatal accidents. So this was the place where I volunteered to fly, and I finally got my posting there. Living conditions were tough. We never had running water in the tap for almost 9 months in a year. The maid used to come. There were barrels kept in front of our rooms. She would break the ice, fill up the bucket with water, give it to us. We would heat that water and use it. To keep ourselves warm, we used to have bukharis. That was a very local kind of an arrangement, and those bukharis would run on kerosene. So we literally used to stink of kerosene, and the smell of kerosene became an integral part of our existence for 2 years that we stayed there. Now, flying itself was another challenge, like I said, and the role of the unit where I was posted had a motto that we do the difficult as a routine, the impossible may take a little longer. Now, flying over that terrain was absolutely out of the world, very picturesque, very beautiful. But it came with an element of risk. Now, Siachen is a place where records of human endurance, of machine capability, of technical capability are set every single day. So this is where I was posted. The training there itself is very tough and demanding. So after I got trained and I was ready to take on sorties as captain, one day that was a Saturday day, and the weather was fine, and the flight commander came and said that there is a casualty evacuation that needs to happen. Now, the role of the unit, which I forgot to tell you, was to help the soldiers who are sitting at very distant places, at the posts, right? These posts are even at an altitude of 20,000 feet to 24,000 feet. And they stay there in very, very tough conditions. So the role of the unit was to support them with food, with kerosene, with medicines. We would even carry their letters from home, right? And we would also do evacuations. For instance, because people there die more of weather than of enemy fire. People die of frost bites and of pulmonary edema and of brain edema, etc. So our duty was to carry injured soldiers from those posts to the hospital. This is what we would do. Now that day the flight commander came and he said there's a casualty evacuation that is expected. So please go and fetch the soldier who has got pulmonary edema and he's in a very serious situation. So please go and get him. So me alongside with my co-pilot, we took off. So the flight commander said that there's a casualty evacuation that needs to happen and please go. So we took off. The weather was absolutely clear. Now there's a pass that comes between the Leh base and the Siachen Glacier, and that pass is called the Khardungla Pass. That pass is, there's a lot of movies now that have come up, and that pass is what we had to cross. Now when we crossed that pass, it was absolutely clear. The weather was absolutely fine. But the forecast was that by afternoon, the weather is going to pack up. Now we went, we landed at base camp, we picked up this casualty, and seeing his condition, I realized that he was really very serious. His condition was not okay. And he had an attendant with him. So the requirement for us was to go and evacuate him at the hospital as early as we can to save his life. Now, as we started coming back, the weather started packing up. And as we came close to Khardungla, it was fully covered. Now, this was a tough condition. As a captain, I was in a very difficult situation. What do I do? Do I make an attempt to cross the pass, take that risk, or do I go back? Going back would mean that person will for sure die. I was in a very, so to say, a catch-22 situation. And my co-pilot said, ma'am, let's make an attempt. So at times when you make an attempt, you do get a small opening from where you pass through. But from my experience of flying, and I had much more experience that my fellow had, I realized that there's no way you can pass through. And the question came that, is it worth risking one life for 4 lives, which are there on the aircraft? So with a very heavy heart, I decided to turn back. And there is an army helipad which is very close. So I decided to turn back and go to the army helipad. And when I turned back, I prayed very hard. And I prayed that and I am a spiritual person, and I prayed that, please do something, God, to help me help this person on board today. So I turned back and I landed at that helipad, army helipad. And the moment I landed, I had not even switched off. I got a call from the ATC that you can now go and make an attempt. There's a small opening in the whole clouds that has suddenly come up. It's not going to stay for long. If you can make it fast, you'll be able to go through. So I had not even switched off. I quickly engaged my rotors again. I took off and I tried to fly as fast as I could. Now my fuel was low, so I could convert that low fuel into speed. And I could see a small opening as if it was made just for me. And I crossed that. I went to the military hospital, evacuated that person. There was an ambulance. The doctors were already waiting for this person to come. They took him, gave him the first whatever medication had to be given. He was further evacuated to Chandigarh. And there his treatment went on for a very long time, but finally his life was saved. Now why am I covering this is because there comes another mantra, success mantra that I have learned here. But before that, I would like to share a story. Would you want to listen to a story? Yes? Okay. So there was once a deer who was pregnant and she was about to give birth to a fawn. So this deer goes into the forest and there she sees a river which is flowing, and next to the river is a beautiful green patch. So the deer decides to give birth on that patch. But as she's approaching, there's a whole lot of clouding that's happening and the lightning starts. On the left, as the deer sees, there is a hunter ready with his bow and arrow ready to shoot. On the right, the deer sees there's a hungry lion approaching the deer. Now the question is, what will the deer do? From two sides, it's boxed by its predator. One side is a flowing river, the other side is a forest fire that has lit because of the lightning that has hit the forest. Now the deer just focuses on giving birth to the fawn. The question was, will the deer survive? Will the deer give birth to a fawn? Will the fawn survive? Will the deer get killed by the hunter's arrow? Or will the deer die a horrible death in the hands of the lion? Now the deer just focused on giving birth to the fawn because the rest was not in her hands. All that she had in her hands was to give birth, and that's what she focuses on. And the sequence of events that follows are as such. The lightning strikes the hunter. The hunter, he just zips the arrow which passes the deer and hits the lion. It starts to rain and the forest fire gets doused and the deer gives birth to a beautiful, healthy fawn. You know, this is what happens to a life, because that day sitting in the cockpit, I felt like this deer. But the question is, whenever you are engulfed by uncertainties, problems, situations, challenges that are not in your control, the outcome of that situation will depend upon where is your focus when all that is going on. Are you focused on the distractions which are around you? Or are you just focused on the right thing you are supposed to focus on? Right? That's what the deer did. Now imagine if the deer had got distracted by all that was happening around. It would have for sure resulted into death or disaster. Right? So in that point in time, I just focused on doing the right thing, which was a difficult decision. I did not get distracted by anything else. I did not allow my mind to get distracted by anything else, though I just said a silent prayer. But I kept focus on the right thing. And then there's some energy, some power that helped me to sail through it. And that's what happens in life, ladies and gentlemen. So learn to take charge. Take charge means that you're not dependent on anybody or any situation for success. Taking charge means that you have mastered the art of being highly effective and highly productive and deliver the best results regardless of your circumstances, your situations, your role or your business challenges. Right? As a leader, remember, you've got to take charge. You've got to take charge of your inner self. Got to take charge of the uncertainty that is woven into this whole fabric of our day-to-day living and our business environment. You've got to take charge of your psychology, of your physiology. You've got to take charge of your thoughts, your actions, your deeds, your energies, and your life results. So the moment when we don't take charge, what is really happening? We are either in a blame mode, blaming others, right? Or we are in a victim mode, feeling like a victim. But the moment you start taking charge of the situation of yourself, things change. Because you're not focusing on your distractions. So I have time to cover another success mantra, right? Now there's another story, a beautiful, very powerful story I want to share with you. And this happens because this happens with most of us, and you'll be able to relate to it. Once there was a man, and he got fed up with everything. Nothing was working for him. His personal life, his relationships, his job, nothing was working. And he just wanted to give up on life. He wanted to give up on himself. But before he did that, he thought, let me go and speak to this old man who has all the wisdom and he has answers to all the questions. So he goes to the old man and he states his plight, story, saying that nothing is working for him and he's just so fed up and he wants to now commit suicide and give up on his life and everything. The old man said, wait. He took him to a forest and he said, what do you see here? The man says, oh, it's a forest and I see bamboo and fern. The old man says, yes, but this is my forest and I planted it. And I planted the bamboos and the fern at the same time. I kept watering it and I kept nurturing it. First year, nothing happened to the bamboo, but the fern grew, it grew green, it grew plentiful, and it covered the earth. But I still kept watering the bamboo. I kept fertilizing it. I did not give up. Second year, the fern grew even taller. It even grew thicker. It covered more earth. All you could see was fern in this forest. And nothing happened to the bamboo tree. But I kept fertilizing, I kept nurturing, I kept watering. The third year passed and the fourth year passed and nothing happened to the bamboo. But I still kept watering it and nurturing it. And when the fifth year came, a small sprout came out of the bamboo trees. But the sprout was so small that it was basically insignificant in front of the fern that had grown so much and plentiful. But in a span of 6 weeks, the bamboo grew to 90 feet. Now he asked him, what happened during those, how long did it take for the bamboo to grow? So the man in his wisdom said, 6 weeks. He said, no, it took 5 years for the bamboo to grow. And then the next question he asked me, what was happening in those 5 years? So when the man failed to answer, he said in those 5 years, a strong network of root was being built up beneath the ground, which you could not see. And this strong network of roots was being built up so that it could support the growth of the bamboos when they grew so fast, right? And that is where the next success mantra comes in. You know, at times it happens in our lives that we work so hard, we invest all our time and effort, and we try and do everything we can possibly do to nurture growth. And sometimes, in fact, most of the times, we do not see anything happening for days and weeks and months together. You know, there's a study which says that most of the people give up when they are 99% close to their success, because they've put in so much of effort that they feel that now they cannot do it anymore. But they are so close, just 1% close to success. Now imagine that old man had given up on that bamboo tree in the 4th year. What would have happened? They would have never grown, right? Similarly, in our life, if we keep, our patience and we keep working and nurturing, believe you me, in whatever you are doing, whether it's your business, whether it's your project, whether it's your professional space that you're working in, that 5th year definitely will come. And when that happens, you will be astonished to see the results that will come out. You heard about Thomas Edison? You know how many times he failed before he finally succeeded? Any idea?
More than 1,000 times.
Sorry?
More than 1,000 times.
Yes, 10,000 times. He failed 10,000 times. In the last time he succeeded. And then there was a reporter who asked him, he said, what made you not give up? Because you failed so many times. He said, no, I did not fail. I only learned 9,900 methods that do not work. That's it. You know, it's the mindset with which you address your failures. It's a mindset with which you learn the lessons that you learn. It's a mindset that does not allow you to give up. And the next and the final success mantra for you all is that you must learn to enjoy the season, whatever season that is. You know, there's a season of growth when everything looks good. Things are happening, promotions are happening, salary increments are happening. Everything seems good on your personal side as well. And there is a season when nothing seems to go right? And there's a season where you see that no matter how much effort that you put, nothing again is happening. But if you know how to enjoy every season, when nothing is happening, keep nurturing, keep preparing yourself, keep developing yourself. Prepare your strategies in your organization. Go back to your SOPs and see what next needs to happen if business is not happening. Because when it happens and if you're not prepared, somebody else will take over. Right? And we've seen so many live examples during the COVID period. A lot of companies gave up. They could not sustain. Aviation was the biggest one. And I personally know aviation companies because I was in aviation. I was selling helicopters that point in time with one of the largest manufacturers in the world. There were companies who were preparing for their expansion, even during COVID, when they had zero passenger traveling, because they knew once the markets open up, whenever they do, they are prepared. And that's what has happened. The moment the markets opened up, they were the leaders. They were the pioneers. They had already put everything in place. Their orders were already placed. So they started getting more aircraft and they could expand at a random pace. Right? So individually learn to enjoy every season, whatever you come across. So my journey then continued, and now it's continuing, and I do love to motivate, inspire people. I love to coach people. I do corporate training. Thank you. And I've also written a book called Unseen Wings. It's about a lot of lessons which now I just couldn't cover. There's a lot more in my life that has happened. And it's all there in this book. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for giving me this opportunity of sharing my story with you all. And as I stand here, I am aware of the immense potential that lies in each one of you. And this is the potential to lead, to inspire, and to make a difference in the world. And when you walk away from here today, even if you can pick up even 1 or 2 mantras, believe you me, the rest of the mantras will follow, because the principles of each mantra reinforces the other mantras to come into your life. And so whatever comes close to you, whether it is being disciplined or taking decisive action, or it is about building up your resilience, or whether it is leading with authenticity, or it is with, living in collaborative workspace environment, or nurturing your strong self-image, or living free from your fears and breaking the shackles of your self-limiting beliefs, whatever it is, pick up at least 1 or 2 mantras. And believe you me, that will be a game changer for all of you. You've got to believe in the power that lies in each one of you. Harness these mantras and you will watch your life change in ways that you never ever imagined. Because together we need to embark on this beautiful journey called life with resilience, be successful, and be our best versions, because that's what you truly deserve in life. Thank you so much, and I wish you all the very best.